Hey, I get to use the hammer. Always wanted to do that. First, we're going to start with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this land is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi peoples, and of the Huron-Wendat peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and all of the original peoples of Turtle Island who have been living and working on the land from time immemorial. Please stand for the national anthem. Okay, before we get into the agenda tonight, I want to welcome all of our guests that are here in person. And if you're wondering why I'm sitting in this chair, it's because Mayor Meloche is on that screen back there. He's a little under the weather, and just to take proper precautions, he's not attending this evening. So I will now turn it over to our clerk for a closed meeting report.
Deputy Mayor, earlier this evening at 5 o'clock, council did move in the closed session to discuss litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals. And council did this as permitted under section 239(2)E of the Municipal Act. At that meeting, council was provided with an update on various litigation files, and council also gave direction with respect to one of those litigation files. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
The council, any declarations of conflict of interest on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, we'll move to the adoption of the published agenda, but we have a couple of amendments to it. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Looking for council to adopt the agenda as amended with the addition of 3 notices of motion. A notice of motion from Mayor Meloche to be added as 17.1.2 on this evening's agenda. A notice of motion from Councillor Bondi to be added as 17.1.3. And then a second notice of motion from Mayor Meloche to be added as 17.1.4 to this evening's agenda.
You, Deputy Mayor Bjorkman. I would also like to seek council support to allow for a delegation in the audience to speak to council tonight about a report on our agenda. Renee Brown. to be added to the agenda, please. Thank you.
Counselor Guerin, all in favor? That carries. Need, an adoption of the minutes for council meeting for July 4th, 2022. Counselor Guerin, seconded by Counselor Matty. All in favor? Carried. And then still need and adoption of minutes from the regular council meeting minutes of July 4th. I do the 4th already? Okay, I skipped the 18th. For the 18th, Counselor Vanderdolen and Counselor Bowman. All in favor? All right, so we have, we don't have any public presentations. We will, I'll check with Counselor Bondi. Did you intend for that speaker to speak at the time of that part in our agenda? Okay, so then we will go to reports from administration. First report from the Office of the CAO, surplus parkland adjacent to Bridlewood Park and
through the chair. This is a report coming back in 2018. Council did declare these lands surplus. The next steps in the process, why we're coming back, is to come back to council, get direction to sell it through public tender. And that'd be the next step. So there'd be public notice sent out to also the residents in that area. The other addition, when this first declared surplus, all the funds were going into just Ward 1 Parkland Reserve. Recommendation was amended a bit now where part of the funds from that would go to our portion of the grant for the Essex Center Sport Field.
for that. Counselor Guerin, seconded by Counselor Bowman. Counselor Bondi.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bjorkman. Just wondering, I forgot that we did this a couple years ago because it's been a while, but just wondering if there's any appetite with council to do more than just sell it as 3 lots. You know, can we issue a request for proposal to local developers to see if they're looking to make any affordable housing here? You know, we have all of these reports that we're getting, you know, affordability task force reports, and all of them suggest like partnerships with the province and the feds. And yet we have this opportunity, we could do something, or, you know, we could plant more trees, or are we just gonna go forward, have 3 lots and call it a day? I just felt like I should raise it for a potential discussion with council colleagues.
For Vanderdolen.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor. Through you, this is a neighborhood of predominantly single-family homes, and we need more housing. I think we should just grab the three new houses is a good idea. Multiple housing would be great, but it wouldn't be appropriate in this neighborhood. At least I don't think the neighbors would appreciate it. I mean, if it was on a main street or something, or in a different location, it would make sense. And I'd say, heck, put up 6 stories, but this is just, it's all single-family homes. And I think this is the best use for it. There's plenty of parkland around there. Let's get 3 more houses built. Thanks.
Any other comments to that? Counselor Bowman.
Looked at the layout of the lots, and I presume that's still open to negotiation because the shapes of some of the lots are pretty irregular, and it leaves some uneven boundaries against the parkland in the back. So I presume that is open to discussion with whoever's buying the property.
Through chair, we are working with a land surveyor right now to get a reference plan done. But we did work with our planning department and infrastructure to kind of see what would best fit there, making sure we still left access to the parkland. So we did talk about that internally. There could be some discussion, but there will be a reference plan done based on this footprint.
Any other discussion? Okay, to the motion, all in favor? That's carried. 10.2, Building and Bylaw Enforcement 2022-02 regarding biannual bylaw enforcement report. And I'm going to go to Mr. Mike Deemer, our bylaw officer, to present.
Through the chair, thank you very much. The purpose of this report is to illustrate the enforcement conducted amongst various bylaws within the municipality. It is our intention, bylaw department intention, to give 2 of these reports a year. The data for this report is from January to June 2022. It should be noted that due to COVID, town facilities were forced to close and restrict access. So voluntary compliance was highly encouraged during this period. Work orders were only issued in very severe instances. I'm not sure if you guys have access to the chart on page 2. If you can see it, you'll notice 158 cases were investigated during the 6-month period. Of the 158, 134 were complaints through council members and taxpayers, and the remaining 24 were proactive enforcement. Of the original 158 investigated cases, 120 have been closed and 38 remain actively investigated. If you change to the page chart on page 3, you'll see of these 158 investigated cases, the various bylaws that were enforced. The red bars indicate active cases and the blue bars indicate closed cases. Of these 158 investigated cases, 115 fall under the property standards bylaw. This is because our tall grass and weeds and exterior property debris fall under this category. They're our most widely used bylaw. As for tall grass and weeds, these complaints can be remedied fairly quickly as town policy doesn't require an appeal, and we can have a town contractor cut the property and bill the owner through their taxes. As for exterior property debris, work orders are required and can be a much lengthier issue as work orders, appeals, and property standard committee extensions delay direct action by bylaw enforcement. If you look to the right of the chart on page 3, you'll see our proactive snow enforcement. Throughout the early winter months, bylaw enforcement is very dedicated to having snow and ice removed from sidewalks. This is completed by giving notices to owners or posting notices to doors. This gives them 12 hours to remove the snow and ice, or a town contractor will do so at their expense. We were lucky this year. The notices were very effective, and the town was not required any action past a notice as voluntary compliance was achieved. Bylaw enforcement receives various complaints through various methods. However, we still recommend the report a problem on the Town of Essex website. This allows bylaw enforcement to properly collect and track all complaints. Thank you. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Deemer, anybody on council with questions? Councillor Bondi.
Mayor Bjorkman, my question is not to Mr. Deemer, but actually to Director Chadwick. I'm just wondering, Director Chadwick, I could not find the former report on our bylaw stats, so I'm wondering if you could send that to council. This way, Councillor Mady also has it as well, and we have a reference point, from year to year or 6 months to 6 months. If you could send that to us, that would be great, because I couldn't find it in my records. Thanks.
Director Chadwick.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Bondi. There may be a gap in time. I believe the last report might have been in, I believe Director Marsu at the time was 2019, I believe. So there may be some gap in data, but we'd be happy to circulate that.
Deputy Mayor, that's why I asked for it, so I could keep track on my end. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Mayor. I was called him Deputy Mayor. That's me.
How quick we just want to change seats here. So I just want to thank Mr. Deemer for the report. And I think this is an important report to have every 6 months. So it gives us as council a feeling of where we're going with what's happening in the community in bylaw misdemeanors, I guess you would call them. So thanks for the report. And from what I hear, you're doing a great job out there. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Questions? Director Chadwick?
Thank you once again, Deputy Mayor. Just a comment that, as Mr. Deemer has indicated, the reports will be biannual, and so the next report you'll see will be from July to December, and so we'll have different statistics. And unless it snows here in southwestern Ontario in November, December, we may not see that spike on that right-hand side for snow removal infractions, but overall it will be an interesting report nonetheless. So looking forward to sharing that with Council in January.
If there's nothing else, I need a mover to receive the report. Mayor Malash and a seconder. Jason, Councillor Maddie. All in favor? That carries. Okay, 10.3, Capital Works and Asset Management regarding Townsview Estates, sidewalk on Morris Drive. Before council gets into it and before we go to Ms. Brown, I'm going to ask Mr. Macbeth if he would give us a report.
Thank you. Through the chair, as part of completing this report, I visited the Townsview Estate development several times to assess potential sidewalk running lines, look for conflicts, and determine feasibility. From there, I was able to determine 3 options for consideration and wrote the report to reflect the potential impacts of each option, including timing, constructability, safety, and cost. A figure for each option was provided as part of this report, which shows the sidewalk layout and the consideration. As part of this report, I also coordinated with the Valente Development Corporation for their input, as well as directors from multiple departments with the town. The first option considered was to install the sidewalk per the approved engineering drawings, which was keep the sidewalk on the north side of Morris Drive, opposite to the stormwater pond. This option does not have any financial obligations to the town, nor will it impact the schedule of the developer. The second option considered was to flip the sidewalk to the stormwater management pond side of Morris Drive. This option does have financial obligations to the town, and the developer also indicated that while he is willing to pay for his portion of the sidewalk if this option was chosen, that he would not have his contractor install it. Typically, sidewalks are also not flipped block to block within new developments, and it is best to have continuous sidewalks. The second option would also recommend flipping the sidewalks on Morris Drive north of the pond as well. This is being proposed to increase public safety, as it would eliminate a mid-block crossing. It would also, doing this though, would also impact the additional residents on Morris Drive, and administration would recommend that those residents be consulted and invited to speak at council prior to this option being chosen to voice their concerns, if any. One additional item that should also be considered is that the 5 residents on Morris Drive currently and in the future would no longer have an accessible sidewalk available to them. Any of those residents or their guests with a stroller, wheelchair, walker, motorized scooter would have to walk down the road to be able to access the sidewalks, as there are no driveways on the other side of the road to create access to it. The third option proposed was to install the sidewalk as per the approved engineering drawings, but to address the concerns that were brought up by the residents at the June 20th council meeting. The community mailbox would be flipped to the north side to eliminate crossings across the road, and the developer had agreed to pay for this mailbox pad, and Canada Post would relocate the mailbox at no cost to the town. Additional signage would also be proposed along the park, and crosswalk lines would be included as part of this option, and that work would be completed by the Public Works Department and done under their operational budget. Based on the 3 options proposed, administration is recommending that council approve option 3 per by this report. Thank you.
Beth? I'm going to ask council if they have any questions for Mr. Macbeth before I ask Ms. Brown to speak, or we can just go straight to hearing from Ms. Brown. Renee? Or Ms. Brown, as I'm supposed to say. You have 5 minutes. When it's over, I bang the gavel on the table.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. First of all, we've read over all of the options and we disagree with all of them. That were provided by the administration in the agenda. None of these are what we had actually asked for. We were simply asking that the sidewalk on fronting the pond on Morris to be relocated to the pond side, with the remaining sidewalk location left as originally planned. We would like our option as an option number 4 that I've just stated to be voted on and added. Now, I would like to address the issues raised in option number 2, moving the sidewalk to the pond side. The safety issues, that's a red herring. Any house in this subdivision without a sidewalk will have to do a mid-block crossing to get to a sidewalk using this logic. At the last meeting, Peter Valente also stood up and said he would go along with the town's decision regarding moving the sidewalk location, but there would be more delays. Regarding the application fee, if this is an issue, the town could waive the fee. If there is a financial impact, the town could pay for it. There is our tax money there. All other work, including sidewalks, can be completed without further delay. The sidewalk to be moved to the pond side can be completed with the future monies from the developer and the town, and locates can be arranged when needed. No matter what you do, people will need to cross a road someplace to get to a sidewalk. Development Standards Manual says sidewalks should be continuous. It doesn't say they shall or must. The town needs to drop the idea of the liability of the pond issue unless they plan to completely fence it in. Because mostly kids toboggan, skate, play, ride dirt bikes, and walk their dogs around the pond, on the pond slope, and in the pond itself. As for tree relocation, there was one tree that needed to move. Okay, we agree. Move the tree and please plant more. As the water main issue, you've planted trees that when fully grown will be well over 1 feet in diameter with root systems that will destroy sidewalks and curbs already. The mailbox is a non-issue. It can be moved or not out of the way of a sidewalk on that side. Grass cutting. Does this mean that you will no longer be cutting the park grass, or you will close the park during all park maintenance as well as close the sidewalk on Maidstone on the other side of the same pond? And as for sidewalk damage, this potentially can happen for any reason. Everything has a life cycle. The community service that's required to clean snow for winter? Question, are you no longer clearing the snow on the sidewalk on Maidstone, which is also adjacent to the same large open pond as drifting snow would be an issue there as well, according to this logic. The wheelchair ramps, curb cuts will not need to be moved. In our plan, no other sidewalks are affected. They are installed. We're keeping the location of the other sidewalks and their curbs and their wheelchair access can stay where they are. Notification of changes to residents, it's not an issue. The 5 residents' houses that are affected are all in agreement that the sidewalk should be relocated to the pond side. We do remove the request in the option to build a sidewalk through the pond from Morris to Maidstone. And so in closing, quite frankly, the reasons provided against the request to move the Morris sidewalk to the pond side of the street are not insurmountable. And they seem unnecessary roadblocks to address a legitimate request from the residents that speak to the issue of safety for the users of these sidewalks. If Essex wants to be a town for the people, it needs to exercise some vision. LaSalle has built an extensive trail system. Windsor has built subdivisions around and through actual water-filled ponds, such as Southwood Lakes and Blue Heron, with even a bridge. Also, the town of Tecumseh is adding walking trails alongside storm sewer management canals and ponds in Lakeview Park. Windsor and the provincial government have spent considerable resources to build a trail system around the Herb Gray Parkway, including paths along unfenced storm management ponds that contain actual water, unlike our dry management pond system. Here's the perfect opportunity for Essex at a relatively minimal cost to build, as was suggested at a previous meeting, an active trail as part of Essex plan for a walkable and livable community. Thank you.
Okay, so I am going to turn this over to council. Mayor, Joe. Okay, first I have our mayor, then I have Mr. Guerin and Ms. Bondi. Councilor Bondi, did I see your? Okay, so first, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Brown, for speaking on behalf of the residents of that area. Even before I would have heard you, I was of the same opinion as what you are. I was going to be making a new motion this evening that, and I would imagine that there are other councilors that believe the same thing, that as a separate motion that the town of Essex request Valenti Construction to not install sidewalks on the section of Morris Drive across the street from the park and stormwater lands. And options for this portion of the sidewalk be determined in the next budget 2023. We wouldn't have enough time in this year to determine what we want to do there. There's still probably some debate that would have to go on. Myself, I can see maybe having a path, an asphalt pathway that's a little bit wider than a sidewalk, maybe double the width or so, maybe even wider. That would be used as two-way traffic, maybe for bikes, for walkers and so on, maybe even little hills at the side of it for rollers, skateboarders or bikes to have a little bit of a thrill driving down the asphalt path. But it's a good long stretch, and I think that eventually, if we connected it to the Maidstone Avenue walkway, that it would be used by more than just that subdivision for evening walks or daytime walks or whatever. And I think it would be a good venue for the entire town, not just that subdivision. So that I'm going to be proposing this motion that we look at a separate option, just as Ms. Brown had suggested. And furthermore, that that all the other sidewalks installation remains as planned currently. The only section that would change is that section on Morris across the street from the parklands and from the stormwater management ponds. So when the time is right, I'll make that motion, but I'll give everyone else a chance to speak first, Mr. Deputy Mayor, before having you come back to me for a motion. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Guerin.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, I agree. I like the idea of the sidewalks being on the pond side of Morris. And I do like the idea of it stopping at the park. A couple of things that we talked about last meeting was one I'd like to ask administration, or do we have the legal right at this point to ask the developer to make any changes to the plan that we've already approved? And the second question I have is, administration has told us that we can't have a sidewalk on that side of Morris due to the pond, due to safety, due to insurance, due to concerns. And now we're being told that we can indeed have one there, but it's not recommended. So I just want those two questions to be clarified, please. Through the chair. So we have the right to ask the developer to put in the sidewalks because the development agreement puts it per the satisfaction of the town. So we can flip them over per our agreement if need be, but we cannot have him incur additional costs in order to facilitate that would be the only option with that. As for the second comment, yes, the sidewalks can be flipped and it wasn't our recommendation too. It is still within the right of way. The sidewalks could be installed along the pond. It's just that there are challenges to do so that need to be engineered and solved as part of doing that, including getting the sidewalks or trail, whatever is determined, to go over the existing spillways, which we're not recommending to remove because that would require updates to the approved stormwater management pond or plan, I should say. Yeah, further that then. So we could do all this stuff, but we'd be adding a cost to the taxpayer to do so, is what you're saying. And we don't know what that would be at this point in time. Through the chair, yes, that is correct.
Deputy Mayor Bjorkman. So I think this is great. I think it's back to the original motion where we were like a meeting ago, where the sidewalk slated for Morris Drive be put on hold and a review taken to see if an active transportation trail be placed on the same side as the drainage pond. So I like it because it sounds kind of the same. And I also think that we could potentially look at the trails budget for 2023 and see if there's any monies in there. You know, this is one thing that I think when we plan, we have to look at how to make our communities most walkable. And I would believe that Maidstone is very busy. And so why would we not make a connecting loop? And that park is a beautiful park. I love that park. And I think that if we have something, you know, that is inviting, more people will go to it rather than just the neighbors there. And maybe that's something that you don't want, but it is a gorgeous park. So it makes sense. I will happily support the mayor's motion whenever he makes it. And I can't wait to see what we end up with, because I see that the active transportation trail could be a little bit bigger and it could wind, and, you know, maybe you have another tree or a bench or a few decorative rocks. Like, I see so much potential there. It might not happen right away. The trails budget in 2023 might be gone. It might take till 2024. But frankly, the subdivision has waited for 3 years without sidewalks. And I like to do the right thing, and I like to do it once. Another thing is, I think that it's great that we're dealing with the sidewalk. I also do want to make a comment out there that we really need to get on this cliff, because that's a big deal too. Thank you for coming out and speaking.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor, thank you. Through you, my opinion hasn't changed since our last discussion of this. I'm a big fan of sidewalks on both sides of all streets. Growing up in Toronto and Ottawa and Vancouver, we always had sidewalks on both sides. I remember like riding my tricycle on them, and I remember grandparents walking on them. And to me, it's normal to have sidewalks on both sides of all streets. And I was shocked when I moved to South Windsor and there's no sidewalks at all. I mean, it's just dangerous. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to vote against this on a point of principle, because I think it's wrong to be removing sidewalks or moving them away from homes. And I think it's hypocritical to vote for something that in fact defies 4 or 5 or 6 of our other policies, like our climate change policies, our active transportation policy, our healthy living policies, our policies that demanding pedestrian safety and that we encourage pedestrian options. We should be adding sidewalks, not moving them away from homes. And if we wanted a sidewalk in front of that pond, great, add it. But I don't think we should be taking it from the other side of the street. So I'll be opposing this. Thanks.
And through you, Your Honor. I guess I was also supporting Mr. Vanderdolen's idea of the sidewalks. However, the mayor's option does give more time to look at it and move forward. So I think it gets the sidewalks in the other portions of the area and still leaves the options open for either putting the sidewalk where it's designed or across the way. So obviously it'll be for the next council to decide, but it leaves those options open for the future. So I think that's important. Thank you.
Councilor Mady.
To you, Chair. For the mayor's motion, what we're just going to ask for is that one sidewalk to be omitted for right now, right? Would we be able to still allow Vente to finish everything else? Or is that going to stop him from if this goes to our next budget and we go through all of our budget, is that going to hold Vente up from being finished with the subdivision? Or is there still enough work there? Well, he'll be like this, the town's not going to assume it yet. I don't know if that would go to the mayor or to our
Mr. Macbeth.
It will not stop Mr. Valente. He would have to make his financial commitment to the sidewalk contribution for that portion. The other works that he has outstanding could be completed, and once they are, then we could assume the subdivision, and then the sidewalk obviously can be installed afterwards or trail, depending on what is selected or chosen to do.
Comment? Counselor Garen.
Thank you, through the chair. So if we do continue the rest of the sidewalks, put a pause on the one on the Morris side for now. There was also discussion from the residents about this 3-foot, 5-foot deal with how close the sidewalks are going to be to the road. So what's our pleasure on that? How are we going to be tackling that? Can administration maybe talk to the 3-foot versus 5-foot? And is that still something that the residents are demanding? They were asking for it for a reason, and now if we do the other sidewalks, it's still has an impact of 3 to 5 on all the other residents. So I just trying to get an understanding of where we're going here with the 3 to 5.
Macbeth.
The approved engineering drawings, which we'd be following for the remainder of the development, actually calls off for about 4.5-foot sidewalk as the location for the boulevard between the back of curb to the face of the sidewalk. That would be continued because that is the approved design, and we don't see a reason to necessarily change it because it would cause other conflicts by moving it closer to the back of curb.
Question, Mr. Garen?
Through the chair, I'm not sure you're talking about the distance from this. I'm talking about the distance from the sidewalk to the curb, not the width of the sidewalk. Is that what you're talking about?
Macbeth.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about, is the distance from the back of curb to the face of the sidewalk. So the approved drawings is about 4.5 feet. And the reason for that is we're trying to avoid things like street lights and create separation so you're not directly adjacent to them.
There's no other comments. I will send it. Oh, Mr. CAO.
Chair, just for clarification, I think you were going to the mayor next. So we're just looking at on Morris Drive between Mateo and by the playground Morris, correct? The other section on Morris to Gallows would stay.
Correct. Did you hear me?
Clarification,
Correct.
right? So.
Correct.
Ms. Macbeth.
For the sidewalk, but based on what you're recommending, it would be you would not install the sidewalks from Gallows up to the parklands along Morris Drive, but you would install them north on Morris Drive up to Townsview Street.
Clarity, is everyone good with that? So, Mr.
So,
Mayor,
Yep.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
So what mine is actually an option 4, as Ms. Brown was saying, that we would not switch sides of the street on the portion of Morris that will have a sidewalk. It will remain where it's at. So everything else in the subdivision remains as is. The only thing that changes is the section of Morris Drive that is across from the parklands and the stormwater management ponds.
So just for clarification, I just want to ensure that we're all on the same page. That the sidewalk is being left out from Gallows Drive to Mateo along Morris. So there will be no connection along Morris to Gallows Drive.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, do you want to make your motion?
That the town of Essex requests that Valente Construction do not install sidewalks on the section of Morris Drive across the street from the park and stormwater lands, and options for this portion of sidewalk be determined in the next budget 2023. Furthermore, that the town ask Valente for cash in lieu of installation of this section of sidewalk, and that all other sidewalk installations remain as planned.
Mr. Bondi seconds. Have any comments to the motion? Bondi has requested a recorded vote. Any other comments? Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, On the motion as moved by Mayor Milosh, seconded by Councillor Bondi. The requested vote was made by Councillor Bondi. Councillor Bondi, how do you vote on the motion?
Support.
Councillor Bondi supports. Vanderdolen, how do you vote?
Opposed.
Aaron, how do you vote?
I support.
Councillor Mady, how do you vote? Councillor Bowman, how do you vote? How do you vote?
Support.
Deputy Mayor Bjorkman, how do you vote?
Support.
Recorded vote of 6 in support and 1 opposing. The motion carries.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Brown and company, and voicing your arguments. And unless you want to stay and enjoy the rest of the meeting, you have an opportunity now to slip out the door. Okay, we'll go to 10.4, Fire and Rescue Services 2022-07, regarding an update on Essex Fire Station 3, proposed land for new Station 3. And for that report, we'll go to Fire Chief Rick Arnell. Chief?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bjorkman. I'm here tonight just to provide an update to council regarding the relocation and building of the new Fire Station 3. Our goal with this report was to provide a proactive report on where this project is. And we wanted to come back and provide council with the ability and opportunity to make a decision if they want on this relocation. Back in November of 2019, council had set direction for us with providing and accepting the building condition assessment and feasibility report that was done by Archon. And that report gave us a clear indication that we need to look at rebuilding the station at Fire Station 3. As this report, as you can see, our current station does not have the adequate parking spaces for firefighters responding to calls and things like that. And what we took into consideration looking at this property was it does have adequate availability parking. As you can see in the report, we did have GIS plot and that's a picture of the square footage of our new fire station, Station 2, on the map there, which shows that we can place it anywhere in there. We just put it in there to show that it does fit. And as well, we did provide a report regarding our firefighters and where their homes are located, and knowing that always doesn't, we'd love to be able to say that we're going to put the fire station near where firefighters live, but that doesn't always happen. But I can say our municipality and our track record for firefighters in our community, they stay 10 to 15 years. So, they're here a considerable time, and that's got to be part of where we go. What we did is this report just kind of the whole basis of this was to be very cost efficient. We looked at municipal properties that would be able to house a new fire station, and this was the location that could do that. And that's basically the reason we brought this report back to council was, at the end of the day, we need to be cost efficient and effective, and we're trying to do that with looking at this location. As some of the comments that we've heard, yes, we'd look to do a public consultation. We have time to do this project. Right now we are currently working on our budget for the next 5 years. And, I'm trying to make sure that we have all the things lined up to make sure that a project like this can happen. So we would have consultation on where it goes, and if it's council's determination that they'd like to hold off, and we can come back next year with some other locations with costing and things like that. When we do the final report, same as what we did at Station 2, we would do a number of reports to make sure that the location's feasible for egress and ingress into the property. As well, we did a traffic study on the corner of North Malden and County Road 15 before we put the new fire station there. So we would look at those things to make sure that this is the right move for the town of Essex before we do any of that. That's basically our report.
Thank you, Chief. I'll go to council now. Any comments or to Councillor Bondi?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bjorkman. I think the new proposed location is in Ward 3, not Ward 4. Roseboro is actually the dividing line. I've noticed that a few times, but as a councillor here, it's my job to do due diligence. And this is a big file. This is a big decision. This is a $3 million decision. And we all knew it was coming. I've read the fire master plan a few times this term of council, and I've read, again, the building condition assessment on Fire Station 3. And there's no doubt in my mind that Fire Station 3 needs replacing. I think it's outdated. The parking is just horrible. And our firefighters do a great job having great response time out of that. But I am, as a councillor in that area, tonight I would like to ask council to table this until the new term of council. I truly feel that this is a decision the new term of council should make. We have 98 days left until the next election, and I know we're not lame duck yet, but I think that the nature of the report saying the proposed timeframe on this project is scheduled to begin designs for 2024. I think that gives us a little bit of time, because the next term of council is going to be the one that deals with the ramifications for the location. And I'm not saying that this isn't the worst location or the best location. I just found out about the location Thursday. This might very well be the best location, but according to this report, I didn't see pros and cons of any other location. I didn't see a lot of pros and cons of this location. So I would like a little more information to make this very important decision. And I'm kind of alarmed when it says the whole basis is of the report and why we want to support it is because there's cost savings. Whether there's 300, 400, 500,000 in buying land, I want the report to come back saying this is the best location, not the cheapest. And I'm very cognizant of that, representing the Harrow and Colchester South area. Our firefighters want the best location, and there's just not enough information and not enough time for public consultation. I was on this file and kind of like on edge about this file all weekend. I've had members from our EMS reach out saying, have you looked at by the ambulance station on Walker Road? And I couldn't answer those questions. And everybody knows I like to answer those questions. I agree that we get it in our long-term budget. So that's easy. Let's plan for it. But I think we should do the public consultation before we approve this report. So those are my thoughts. I cannot support adopting this location tonight because I cannot do my due diligence as a council. So, when the time is right and after other council members have spoke, I would like to see us hold this until the new term of council. Thank you.
For Bondi, Mayor Meloche.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Chair. Similar thoughts process as to what Councillor Bondi is suggesting. I know that we're given this one location, Chief Arnell, but when I look at the map of the area, and I'm not even sure why we I don't know if there's something that says we have to have it in Ward 4, or if it can be just on the outskirts of Ward 4, what the connotations are there, or, what. So I'm thinking that, we have a lot of population on County Road 50. And I don't know what the timing difference would be if we had it. I don't know what the incident rate is for that particular part of the community that this fire station services, and maybe the location that you're proposing, because you go right up Roseboro onto County Road 20 and then right onto Erie, and then you can head down south, or, you hit County Road 20, you can hang a right off of County Road 20 and head out to County Road 41, or whatever road you want to take there. But maybe that is the best alternative rather than having it further south on Erie. But when I look at it, I think to myself, is Erie Road a better location than this particular spot? I'd kind of like to know what the fire marshal's office has said, because I know that when we had Fire Station 1 rebuilt and we were looking at different locations, the fire marshal stepped in as well and said, no, it has to be within this vicinity. And it was a very small area that the fire marshal, or that I was told anyway, I didn't see any report, that the fire marshal really helped decide where it could go. And I don't know if that's the same rules that you have to go by, and all of these things make a difference. But I'd kind of like to just have some additional information on that. It is a good location as far as the pricing goes, and it makes a lot of sense. You've got that huge parking lot there that will give you an opportunity to be able to swing those trucks around and come in the back end and so on. And access onto Roseboro gets you quickly over to Walker into the farmlands out in that direction. I don't know with the new fire station number 2, whether now that fire station can get to quicker, to some of the spots that maybe traditionally would have been Station 3. So all those things would play into this, and I'm sure you've thought about this. It's not in the report for us to have a better understanding, and maybe that would help us to clarify that, yes, absolutely, this soccer field location, parking lot would be an ideal spot. I know in the sense that it's right in the heart of our industrial area, and if we ever have a super major fire, it's going to be one of those industrial park accidents that are going to cause, it's going to be the one that's going to be a historical for us if something were to happen at one of those sites. So in that sense, it's good to have the fire department that close to those sites. But I just wonder with, incident rates of fires, how many of the fires are actually on County Road 50 versus other portions of the community? And does it make more sense to have it south of Herald on County Road 13 or Erie Road, rather than having it someplace right in so central to the town of Herald? Thank you.
On council, Peter Scheer, Councilor Vanderdolen.
Mr. Acting Mayor, through you, well, I'm fully in favor of tabling this or delaying this, but not for the other reasons stated. I just don't think it's a priority for us to build another new fire station at this time. As I've said to people, the paint isn't even dry on the last one we built. Sure, we're going to need a new one. Whether it's in Ward 3 or Ward 4, I think is immaterial unless you're making a political calculation. I think the only metrics that matter here is response time and how much the property costs taxpayers. We've already purchased this. We don't have to spend another $1 million or $2 million buying land, so that's good. But if this fire department mainly responds to accidents, this is the best location. But if its main job is structure fires, you'd think that further towards the structures, most of which are along County Road 50, would be a better location. But the main point is we've spent, a huge ton of money on the fire department over the last few years. You know, we just spent $3.5 million on Station 2, plus $1.5 million or $2 million on equipment. We spent the equivalent of about $5 million on Station 1, plus, you know, $3 million in operating costs. We plowed $51 million at least into the fire department in under a decade. And we have other priorities at this point. I think we need a new town hall more quickly than we need another Station 3. I think we need vastly improved roads. I think that's more important than another new fire station, only like a few months after we opened the last one. So I'm all in favor of delaying this, and I'm not opposed at all to having a study of the metrics of response times and what would be most important to the department, whether it's emergency services or firefighting. Thanks.
Have any other councilors that wish to speak to this? I'd just like to put in that I've been a proponent of this location for 3 years. When I'm out there, we need a new fire station. And I understand what Councillor Vanderdolen is saying about the amount of money we spent, but it's a level of service that we have to provide. And there's a level of service we have to provide our firefighters. They don't have proper training rooms. They don't have proper locker rooms. There's not proper, that station needs to be retrofitted, and it's too small to retrofit, so we need a new one. Now, the reason I'm not in favor of committing to this location right now is because I haven't seen comparables that we've vetted. Why isn't the corner of across from the EMS station a better spot? Why isn't? So I think this is a great spot, but is it the spot? And I think that's some of the information we'll need, and that this next council will need when they make this decision. So I don't want to kick this too far down the road. This is something that we need to come to because we want to build this in 24, 25. So that comes real fast. And yes, it's going to cost $4 million or $5 million by the time we get there. So, but it's a level of service that's needed, and it's a commitment we need to make to our firefighters that we are going to give them those services. So that's my take on it. If there's a little more, Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to make a motion that we table this until the new term of council, but we earmark the money in our budget and we give our staff permission or, you know, the green light to do public consultation and, you know, work on the report where they're vetting a few more options.
I can just jump in there before we second that and move forward. So the recommended actions right now are to receive the report for information. So I think we should go through that first because we don't have to enact the second part, and then we'll make a separate motion if that's all right with the mover. So can I have a mover, or I'm sorry, CAO, did you have something to say towards this? Okay, so I have a mover to accept the report, receive the report from the chief. Councillor Vanderdolen and Councillor Guerin and the mayor, all in favor. Okay, now just a comment from the CEO first.
For clarification on Councillor Bondi's proposed motion, there is no funds to be earmarked, so that would not need to be in the motion.
Bondi, would you like to make an additional motion?
Sure. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bjorkman. That council understands that the fire Station 3 is looking for a new location and that we work on public consultation and bring back a report with more options to the new term of council. And I'm up for friendly amendments on that. And I would like a recorded vote on that too, Mr. OJ.
Mr. Mayor, seconds. Any comments to the motion? Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I'm seconding and commenting. I'm not necessarily in favor of moving it out to the next council. I don't know it's going to take that long. It's I don't know why the next council could make a better decision on a location than what this council can make a decision on the location if we were going to move forward on it. So I think I'd give the option to Chief Arnell if he can come back sooner and he wants to pass along some of the reasons why he thinks this is a good location, and we all agree, then I don't foresee the reason why we'd want to hold it up till the next council. So I'm not going to be in favor of this motion that we wait for the next council to make this decision. We're not lame duck. We should be able to continue making decisions until we're in that kind of a position. So as long as the report comes back before something would happen in the sense of us being lame duck, I'm more than prepared to listen to what Chief Arnell has to say. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask the mover if you would accept that as a amendment to it, that when the chief is prepared to come back to us, whether it's us or the next, that we accept that. Okay, seconder, good with that? Who's my seconder?
Yes.
Oh, the mayor.
Yes.
Good. Okay, and Councillor Guerin. Comments? Okay, we've asked for a recorded vote, so Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. On the motion as moved by Councillor Bondi, seconded by Mayor Meloche, as requested. Councillor Bondi, how do you vote on the motion?
Support.
Councillor Vanderdolen, how do you vote?
Could you reread the motion, please?
That amendment be directed to public consultation relating to future location fire station 3, that administration bring back a report.
Support.
Sorry, just to state the motion again, that administration be directed to explore public consultation related to the future location of fire station number 3, and that administration be directed to bring back a report regarding same. And on that motion, you support?
Support.
Thank you. Councillor Guerin, how do you vote?
Support.
Mady, how do you vote? Councillor Bowman, how do you vote?
Opposed.
Mayor Meloche, how do you vote?
Support.
Deputy Mayor Bjorkman, how do you vote? With a recorded vote of 6 in support, 1 opposed, the motion carries.
And if I can just make another comment to Chief, was very good report. It's very, very detailed. Just want to say everything that you mentioned in there, that the shortcomings of that Station 3 is important for us to understand, and important for us to understand the need to give these firefighters the tools needed. So thank you very much for bringing that forward. Okay, moving on to 10.5, Director Morissette, do you want to just take the rest of the meeting? We're going to go through Community Services 2022-13 special event notice for the Herald Fair, September 1st to September 4th. That Community Services report entitled Special Event Notice Herald Fair, September 1st to September 4th, prepared by Jake Morissette, Director of Community Services, be received, and that county approve the granting of a temporary noise permit under noise control bylaw on Thursday from 11 p.m. on Thursday, September 1st, from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Friday, September 2nd, from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday, September 3rd, and from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday, September 4th at the Herald Fairgrounds to accommodate the entertainment for the Herald Fair. And that council approved closing County Road 20, King Street from the Herald Research and Development Center to McCaffey Street, and closing McCaffey Street in Herald on Saturday, September 3rd, 2022, between 1:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. for the Herald Fair Parade. Did you have anything to add there, Mr. Morissette? Yeah. Need a mover? Moved by Councillor Vanderdolen, seconded by Councillor Guerin. Any comments? All in favor? That passes. Community Services 2022-15. renewal agreement with the Essex 73s Hockey Club for sign advertising at the Essex Center Sports Complex. A Community Services Report 2022-15 entitled Renewal Agreement with the Essex 73s Hockey Club for sign advertising at the Essex Sports Complex, prepared by Jake Morris at Direct Community Services, be received, and that bylaw 2168, being a bylaw to provide for a lease to the sign advertising at the Essex County Sports Complex with the Essex 73s Junior Hockey Club to operate within the Libro Rink and Shaheen Rink on a 4-year term commencing September 1st, 2022, be read a first and a second time and provisionally adopted on July 18th, 2022. Do I have a mover? Mayor Malash, seconded by Councillor Bowman. I had to find the right first word. Any comment? All in favor? That carries. 10-7. Special event notice on a mission for the mission, August 28, 2022. That Community Services Report entitled Special Event Notice on Mission for a Mission, prepared by Jake Morissette. The council approved closing Sydenham Street between Sullivan Street and County Road 50 in Colchester on Saturday, August 28, 2022, between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. for the On a Mission for the Mission motorcycle ride. Do I have a mover? Councillor Matty, seconded by Councillor Vanderdolen. Any questions to that? All in favor? Thank you. 22-18, special event notice, Windsor Essex Therapeutic Riding Association. The Community Services Report 22-18 entitled Special Event Notice, Windsor Essex Therapeutic Riding Association, September 25th, 2022, prepared by Jake Morissette, be received and that council approved closing Sydenham Street between Sullivan Street and County Road 50 in Colchester on September 25th, 2022, between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. for the Windsor Essex County Therapeutic Riding Association motorcycle ride. I have a mover for that. Mayor Malash, seconded by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Special event notice, Essex Steam and Gas Engine Parade, August 13th, 2022. That council approved closing Walker Road from the 11th concession to Parkside Drive and concession 11 from Walker Road to 11081 11th concession between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. for the Steam and Gas Engine Parade. Could I have a mover? Councillor Guerin, seconder, Councillor Matty. Any comments? Councillor Bondi.
Mayor Bjorkman, just confirmation that this is actually a go on both ends, or do we know that?
Morissette.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, we are still working out the details with the policing. There is policing requirements from Amherstburg, which is Windsor Police, for their parades and road closures. It is not a requirement from the town of Essex for police presence during road closures for parades. We do have a process in place where they can use barricades, monitoring the site, and we have street closure signs for that purpose. But Amherstburg is requiring, as part of parades, that they have police closures. So we're working out those details. I have been in contact with the OPP today, and they said along the similar lines, if they need to be there to assist, then they will, but there is a paid duty fee for their staff to be there, similar to Windsor. So there would be a cost incurred for policing on the parade route.
Deputy Mayor, is this, the cost is not on our side, on their side?
Through Mr. Deputy Mayor, the cost would be dependent on which way the gas and steam engine would want to go. If they want to go with the OPP being on site, we are checking with Windsor Police. They are going to get back to us to see if they will permit that, or if they do, based on their policies, require strictly Windsor Police to be on being a border jurisdiction if they have to be there. So we're trying to find out those details to get to the gas and steam engine to see which route they want to go. If they do go with OPP, then they would have, the gas and steam would have to pay the OPP for those costs for policing. Similarly, if Windsor Police is going to be on site, they would have to work out those details with the Windsor Police for those costs.
Deputy Mayor, back to Mr. Morsuit. So I did talk to representatives from the gas and steam engine, and budgets are tight, right? They can afford, it's a free parade. So for them to come up with $750 is quite a lot. So they said that they're prepared to pay 1/3. if it looks like it's going to be in jeopardy, can you please let me know? Maybe we can find sponsors like Ice Cool Treats or something. Yeah. Thanks.
So if I just further clarify, the gas and steam engine for our side of Walker Road, if they decide to go with barricades and man their own, they don't need our OPP and there is no cost to them. So if they have their own volunteers to block off the road, there is no cost. It would just be the Amherstburg side that would need their police department. Councillor Vanderdolen.
This might sound stupid, but could they just stay on one side of the dividing line? Seriously, if that's the rule, stay on the Essex side of County Road 11. Just throwing it out there.
Marcet?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, it would not be advised to do that. It is a high traffic flow road. So having half the road open to southbound traffic would potentially create a dangerous situation.
Just to supplement, I wasn't proposing traffic on one side. Just close the whole road, but there's no parade on the Amherstburg side. You don't need police.
Thank you, Councillor Vanderdolen. Any other comments? All in favor? Special event notice, Herald Legion, July 30th, 2022, Community Services 2022-20. That 2220 entitled Special Event Notice, Herald Legion, July 30th, be received and that council approve the granting of a temporary noise permit under Noise Control Bylaw 2038 from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday, July 30th, 2022 on the roadway outside of the Herald Legion to accommodate the entertainment on the street, and the council approve closing McAfee Street between County Road 20, King Street to 47 McAfee Street in Herald on Saturday, July 30th, 2022 between 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. for entertainment on the streets. I have a mover, Councillor Vanderdolen, seconder, Councillor Mady. Any questions? All in favor? All right, so that's it for entertainment. Now we'll move on. Parks and facilities. 2022-12, read June 2022 update on short-term rentals at Colchester Harbor. The Parks and Facilities Report 2022-12 entitled June 22 update on short-term rentals at Colchester Harbor, prepared by Jake Morissette, Director of Community Services, dated July 18th, be received for information. Mr. Morissette, do you have anything you would like to add to the report or just statement to make there?
Deputy Mayor, he's we have met a couple times with the operator of the short-term rentals, and anytime there was any questions or things to work out in terms of logistics, he was very willing to work with us on things. So he's been very reasonable with any requests that we have made of recent times.
I think it's important to state that in the report, it states that there have been no complaints, there have been no issues for the month, and we're getting monthly reports now on how things are happening at the harbor. So I think it's a very good way for us to track it. So can I have a mover to receive this? Councillor Vanderdolen, supported by Councillor Karen. Any comments? All in favor? Carried. Parks and Facilities 2214 Veteran Memorial Park Storage Container. That Parks and Facilities Report 2022-14 be received and that council approve funding in the amount of $6,436.32 utilized from monies held in the Parks and Recreation Reserve specifically designated for the Herald Cenotaph. And if I can ask Director Morissette just for a comment on what it is that the storage container is for and who's requested it.
Deputy Mayor, the storage container is for supplies dedicated for the Remembrance Day ceremony that they do have at the Veterans Memorial Park. It is the Herald Legion that's requesting this through fundraising efforts for a lot of the stuff that they have done at the park. The Park Reserve Fund has a dedicated amount allocated for their purposes, which we hold in trust for them for different things that they want to do and initiatives for that park. And this is one of those things. They did look at some different options in terms of would a shed be the best option, but then you're looking at, you have to have a concrete base. You have to, it doesn't block out per se any moisture. It still has a lot of humidity. It's easy to break into those. So one of the things that they were asking for was to have the more of a storage container, which is more secure. It's weatherproof, keep out the moisture. So they're not going to have any deterioration to their items that they do store in there. So especially with being a park, we have people going in there at basically any time. So we want to make sure that the stuff that they do store on the property is safe and that they're not going to have issues with that. And one other consideration through the crime safety and prevention walks that we've done, one of the concerns that was had by administration was that we didn't want basically this giant white billboard in the park. So as a discussion with the Herald Legion, they're going to look at having a mural or some sort of decal put on it to prevent basically just a giant billboard for spray painting. So and there was a recent report that Canada Post had where they, on their mailboxes, they put the decals on the mailboxes because they were having a lot of graffiti, and 100% of the graffiti was gone after they wrapped those mailboxes. So that's a good indication for us that if there's a mural on it, it should be protected, and we should be in a much better spot than just advertising a billboard for graffiti.
Thank you. Any comments? I'm going to go to Mr. Mayor first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Mr. Morsu, just wondering location in the park. I was thinking it was going to be behind the cenotaph, and I was concerned about break-ins on it, but it sounds like it's going to be in a visible location. And secondly, if something did happen where someone broke in, I'm assuming that it would be the town of Essex's insurance that would cover the break-in.
Mayor, I'm not sure in terms of insurance, but I can speak to the location. It would be at the northeast corner of the park, at the very back. So it's got visibility from King Street, as well as the parking area adjacent to the park. There's also one of the local businesses has security cameras pointing in the park. So we'd have that shot as well in case there was any sort of damage.
That's excellent. Thank you for the information.
Mayor Bjorkman, I will say that I'm not particularly crazy putting a sea can in a park. I'm going to look very sightly, but I understand the rationale. I don't think it's a good practice to get into. One of the questions I have is, are we taking down any trees to put this sea can up?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, there is one shrub that would be affected. We're going to try and relocate that shrub, and in either case, we're going to try and do some locations around the container so that it's going to have a more visible look to it.
Councillor Matty.
Through you, Chair, to Director Morissette. Did the Legion ask for it to be in the park, or is that just where we're the land that we have available to them?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, yes, they did ask for it to be located within the park. It's quick and easy for them to be able to get their supplies for the Remembrance Day ceremony, to the locations that they set up everything up. So they wanted everything to be on site.
Comments? Okay. Do I have a mover and a seconder there?
Deputy Mayor, I don't believe so. No.
Okay. Can I move the recommended actions? Mr. Mayor and Mr. Bowman, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, Infrastructure Services 2201, Colchester Sanitary Sewer Environmental Assessment. That Infrastructure Services Report 2201 be received. That council authorize administration, the developer, to appoint the most suitable consultant to provide consulting services to complete a municipal class environmental assessment for the Colchester sanitary sewage area. And that bylaw 2178 being a bylaw to enter an agreement with Core Horizons and Colchester Bay, Inc. for the municipal class environmental assessment for the Colchester sanitary sewage area. Be read a first, a second, and a third time and finally passed July 18th, 2022. I have a mover. Councillor Bowman, seconder. Councillor Vanderdolen. Any comments or questions to this motion? Councillor Bondi.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'm wondering if we can have, I'm not sure, probably Director Chadwick explain the process here a little bit, because the way I read the report, it almost reads like the developer gets to pick who they want to do the municipal class environmental assessment. And I'm just wondering what kind of oversight there is. Like, I always thought it should be like a third party. Because it seems like, you know, if the developer is picking an organization that determines sewage capacity, I don't know, do you see where I'm going? So wondering how you can, if you could explain how it's going to work, please.
Gerard.
Through the chair. So the way that the recommendation is worded is that we'll agree to a consultant. We've already engaged some consultants already and have an informal agreement to proceed with Stantec Consulting, which is the town's engineer of record on most sanitary sewage systems in the town. So we don't see that being an issue. The EA itself will be driven and managed by the town of Essex. So we'll be completing the study to ensure that it's completed to our standards and follows the Environmental Assessment Act.
Comments? Okay, then ask the question to receive and to enact the bylaw. All in favor? Carried. Development 2213. That economic development report entitled Building Report and Development Overview, June 2022, prepared by Nelson Silvera, Economic Development Officer, dated July 18, 2022. He received for information. Have a mover. Mayor Malash, seconded by Councillor Bowman. Any questions to this? All in favor? Carried. Legal and Legislative Services, Municipal Access Agreement with Cogeco. That Legal and Legislative Services Report 2218, report entitled Municipal Access Agreement with Cogeco, be received that the Corporation of the Town of Essex agree to enter into a municipal access agreement with Cogeco Connection, Inc. in the form and manner provided for in the agreement attached as Schedule A to this report, and that bylaw 2156 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a municipal assess agreement be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed July 18, 2022. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Maddie, second by Councillor Bowman. Any thoughts, comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Legal and Legislative Services 2228, record of a revision for Campbell Side Road Drain Bridge. That the following three members of the Drainage Board, Kirk Carter, Percy Dufour, and Felix Wade Benzel, be appointed to sit as the Court of Revision, scheduled for 5:00 p.m. on August 17, 2022. And that bylaw 2172 being a bylaw to provide for the Campbell Side Road drain be read a first and second time and be provisionally adopted on July 18, 2022. Have a mover? Councillor Vanderdolen, seconded by Mayor Malash. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Legal and Legislative 2229, Court of Revision for fifth concession drain, bridge for 4522, fourth concession. Following three members of the Drainage Board, Kirk Carter, Percy Dufour, Felix Wade Benzel, be appointed to sit as a Court of Revision, scheduled for 5:00 on August 17, 2022. And that bylaw 2173 being a bylaw to provide for the fifth concession road drain, bridge for 4522, fourth concession road, geographic township of Colchester South, project RE 1200121DO22. Whew. Be read a first and second time, be provisionally adopted on July 18, 2022. Moved by Councillor Bondi, seconded by Councillor Vanderdolen. Any comments, concerns? All in favor? Okay, two more. 22 and 230, Court of Revision for brush drain repair and improvements, reconsideration report Following three members of the Drainage Board, Kirk Carter, Percy Dufour, and Felix Wade Benzel, be appointed to sit as a Court of Revision, scheduled for 5 o'clock on August 17, 2022. And that bylaw 2183 being a bylaw to provide for the rush drain, repair and improvement, reconsidered report, geographic township of Colchester North, project, bunch of numbers, be read a first and second time, be provisionally adopted on July 18, 2022. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bowman and Mayor Meloche. Any questions to that? All in favor? Carried. Court of Revision for, 2231, Court of Revision for LaPointe Drain, Section 76 Assessment Schedule. That the following three members of the Drainage Board, Kirk Carter, Percy Dufour, and Felix Wade Benzel, be appointed to sit as Court of Revision, scheduled for 5 o'clock p.m. on August 17, 2022, and that bylaw 2181 being a bylaw to provide for the LaPointe Drain, Section 76 Assessment Schedule, geographic township of Colchester North, be read a first and second time and be provisionally adopted on July 18, 2022. I'll move it. Seconder, Councillor Vanderdolen. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Done those. Okay, reports from youth members. We don't have youth members yet, and county council update. I will provide a small update. We have a meeting on Wednesday, and at that meeting, one of the things that's being brought to us is a new EMS station for Kingsville. The EMS station in Kingsville will have 3 drive-through bays. It will house 6 vehicles, so great to be right here in our neighborhood. But one of the things to remember when we're talking about our fire stations, what things cost, without the land, that's a $4.3 million investment from the county that's happening this year. So it just tells you where we're going with building and what construction costs and what things are happening right now. So this is going to be brought forward on Wednesday night for us to approve. And for us in Essex, County Road 12 culvert at the Guesto Side Road will be installed. It's scheduled right now for October, and it will actually close the road for 4 weeks. That's a $600,000 culvert replacement. So good things happening at the county and things that affect us directly and that we will benefit from directly. So that is my my report from the county. Can I have a motion to receive my report? Councillor Guerin, Councillor Mady, all in favor? Carried. Correspondence to be received, 13.1 up to 9. We'll first receive all the correspondence. If somebody wants to pull something out to talk about, we will do that. So could I have a mover to receive all the correspondence? Councillor Guerin, seconded by Councillor Bowman. All in favor? Carried. Is there anything that someone would like to pull out and speak to? Councillor Bondi?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I would like to bring up 13.1.9, the removal of municipal councillors under prescribed circumstances. The letter from the city of Owen Sound, where the removal of municipal councillors under prescribed circumstances, where Owen Sound is really taking a firm stance against misogyny and hatred and basically discrimination in the council chambers. So being a woman on council, being the only one here tonight, the other female councillor is not here. I think that this is worthy of support. I recently read the Windsor Star and looked into another article with a northern municipality, and they were having an online meeting, and one of the male councillors called one of the female councillors under his breath, but it's on video. You can Google it and find it, the C word. And so this is a reality, and we want to know why more women don't run for council. That's an incident. Why? So I will certainly be seeking council's support to see if they would receive and support this resolution.
I think the conversation is important, and I think it needs to be talked to. I don't know that I support this particular, I read through exactly what it was that they were saying, and I can't agree with the vagueness of some of what's there. And in that, so I won't be supporting this. I do support the intent. I do support what they're trying to do, and we need to do it, and we need to follow through with it. But as vague as what they've written there is, I won't be supporting that. Anybody else? Councillor Vanderdolen.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Through you, yeah, I agree with you. Of course, we're opposed to bad behavior, whether it's in council chambers or on social media or anywhere else. But this is really wide open. It's like it says at the end, to facilitate, strengthen, and ongoing orientation and training sessions for councils, local boards, and committees. Yeah, I don't want to support that. I've been through some of that stuff, and I think it's counterproductive, and in fact, it's retrogressive, some of what is promoted by these sessions. So I'm opposed to it as well.
Hey, any other comments? Councillor Bowman.
Comment. I think it really comes down to the province and how it deals with councils. At this time, they really don't give any authority to anybody to control councils other than to tell you what you can't do. The elected officials really don't fall under any legislation that allows for any penalties or really I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but really penalties that you can put on council or members of council moving forward. So until they change the provincial design of councils, that really isn't going to change. And that'll have to come from a whole review. And it's not just councils, it's how they deal with a number of things, from policing all down. They're trying to do some policing changes now, but even that's going to take a long time. So I think for anything to really happen in this area, it'll take an overhaul of how councils are formed and how elections carry on and moving forward. I can't see that happening in the near future.
Hey, any other comments? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, so we will not support that or send a letter. Thank you. Correspondence be considered for receipt and support. We have none. Committee meeting minutes. The committee meeting minutes listed in agenda 14, together with any recommendations council know therein, be received, approved, and adopted as circulated. I have a mover. Mayor Meloche, supported by Councillor Joe Guerin, as a matter of fact. Any other comments? Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bjorkman. A couple comments. One, because Councillor Guerin won't say it about himself, but well done, sir, on FunFest. That was amazing. I got to spend 3 out of the 4 days there, so it was awesome. It was top notch, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do next year. And in terms of on here, the Essex Center Business Improvement Area, I just wanted to, they're launching it. I've been helping a little bit. We have new to Essex Center are welcome bags now that new residents can get. It's been a project that's been going in in Harrow, same thing, I guess, in Ward 4 since 2017. And so now it's being launched in Ward 1 here, and it's in the BIA minutes. So we have lots of fun things, menus, our fire department has things, and just spread the word. The Canadian Tire gas bar gave us gas cards. I'm not sure how much they're for, but if you're a new resident moving into the town of Essex, make sure you stop by Walkerville Candles. And also, if you see a neighbor that's moved in, pick up one for them, and let's just come together and welcome all of our new residents. If you're a business watching, you can get in touch with Walkerville Candles and bring some of your stock to there, and we'll throw your items in the next welcome package. So it's really exciting. Thank you.
Very much. Any other comments? Okay, got a mover, a seconder, all in favor of receiving? Carried. Okay, that brings us to notices of motion. And I'll pass that over to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. The first motion, notice of motion under 17.1 was first presented back at the July 4th, 2022 regular council meeting and is now being brought forward this evening for council's consideration. As moved by Councillor Bondi, that council of the town of Essex direct administration to cease the multi-residential waiving of development fees unless the new proposal is deemed to qualify for affordable housing. Again, as moved by Councillor Bondi and would require a seconder.
For that motion. Councillor Mady. I'm gonna get it all right one time then. Councillor Bondi?
Bjorkman, this is just something that now, we've incentivized multi-residential development. So that means we incentivized apartments. We were successful in achieving 2 apartments here in the town of Essex, one right in Ward 1 and another one coming in Ward 2. And so when those approvals come to our desk, I look and I see how much we are incentivizing the development. And the last one on Parnell Street is going to cost the taxpayers $480,000. And that's great that we're getting new apartments here. We want them here, but I don't believe at this point it's sustainable financially for us to continue to offset that debt on the backs of our regular residents. So we've been going through our strategic plan and I see that we want to manage appropriate levels of debt. When we say we're waiving development fees, we're not making them go away. They still have to be paid for. So that means we have to look at our reserves, we have to look at getting debt, or we have to look at taxing our regular residents. So taxing residents, we know that around 130,000 is a 1% tax increase. So technically, in theory, every new apartment is a 3% tax increase. And I know that we want living in the town of Essex to be affordable for everybody. And it's going to be unaffordable if we keep growing. And we are growing. And I think we will. The good thing is, with our strong directors and our progressive and aggressive council, we have been growing. And I think we're going to continue to grow. I don't think developers are going to be as fixated on the development as they are on the community. So if we keep that money in our pocket, we can put that money into our libraries, our roads, our parks, in our taxpayers' pockets. So I've been looking at, all of the affordable housing reports, and I would be up to, seeing if administration can bring us back a report that says, let's look at waiving or eliminating waiving of the multi-residential development fee and look at how we can still work with developers if they want to come back to us, if they are offering some affordable housing. I know in the last term of council, we went through some houses in Kingsville, and it was really eye-opening. At the time, the provincial government was giving grants, and there was row housing in Kingsville where the developer would build it. The province gave him money. He worked with the municipalities, and that loan was a 20-year loan. For the 20-year loan, it had to be affordable. Year 21, he could convert it to market. So things like that, we're not going to get any affordable housing unless we make policies for it. I'm a firm believer that we need to have policies to stimulate affordable housing. If the market's not going to drive it itself, I don't believe in the trickle-down theory of housing, because we're building, if you look at our report, we're building over 100 homes in our municipality. And 2 or 3 times a week, I get a call about affordable housing and I don't have a place to go. So I think it's responsible for us to stick to our strategic plan and looking at affordable housing because we don't have it. And I also think that this is fiscally responsible and protecting our reserves. So I'd like to see what my council colleagues have thought. And I don't think the conversation is going to hurt. I think it's a healthy conversation. Thank you.
Who would like to start the discussion? Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to ask Councillor Bondi, what is her definition of affordable housing?
Thank you. And through you, Deputy Mayor, to our mayor, I would leave that with administration to define. There are some definitions in the report that say 80% of market value, but I believe that definition could always change. So I think tonight what we do is we ask administration to bring back a report on what is affordable. I think that the motion's almost two parts. One is, you know, if you're going to charge $2,000 a month for rent, do you really need a deal with development fees? And the other one is, if a developer wants to come to us saying, hey, we want to build an apartment with 16 affordable apartments, I think that we should work with them because it's responsible.
Thank you. And part two to this too is, I know that we give out a certain amount of money. For instance, I think Councillor Bondi was quoted on the radio as saying something like 400,000 or something like that. The intent when we first put this in place, and Councillor Bondi was in agreement with it as well, was that we would collect on that over the next 8 to 10 years. And with the amount of taxes that we would collect in revenue on the new construction, because if we didn't have these incentives of waiving development fees, we would not have received either of these proposals, and the developer would not have moved forward with these. So we can always take away the waiving of the development fees, but at what point in time when we have no more apartment buildings, it's something that we want. At what point in time do we decide that strategy is not working and now we want to waive development fees again in order to get some apartment buildings? Because apartment buildings give us that density of development that we want, that we're striving for. And I think maybe it's worthwhile saying, hey, we're going to forego the tax revenues on these buildings for, you know, up to 8 years, you know, to pay off the development fees that we waived in order to have that density development within our communities. And again, it makes it, a lot of times these apartment buildings are more affordable than what would otherwise be out there in the markets. A lot of places, for instance, in Herald, it's very difficult to find some place to rent. And that's one of the centers I would say right now that we're probably trying to look to have some kind of density or apartment building that would be give us some place in the core area of Harrow in order for people to stay in that community and rent. So I'm not 100% sure if this is the way we want to go, but if we're just asking for administration to come back with a report, perhaps we have them come back and give us an idea of what they believe. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Through you, I think this is one of those ideas that sounds good, but it wouldn't really work it wouldn't work in practice, I don't think. Over the past 4 years, you know, this council has struggled with having to make up several $1 million worth of development fees we waived for projects in Harrow Center and Essex Center, and you know, we were warned by our last finance officer about what we were doing, and I remember arguing against it then when Councillor Bondi was in favor of it. So she seems to be going in the opposite direction now. But I can offer her a definition of affordable housing. It looks like a horse. It's white in color and has a great big horn right in the middle of its forehead. Because affordable housing is a unicorn. It does not exist. All you're doing is you're transferring these costs from one group of taxpayers to another group of taxpayers. And we should not be bringing in some sort of blanket policy that does this. We should be doing this on a case-by-case basis as projects come forward, and not hobbling one half the developers in favor of the other half of the developers, or creating some sort of false definition of what affordable housing is. And whatever we define as affordable housing is going to change in the next 2 months because inflation is out of control, interest rates are on the rise. So no, I think this is a solution that it won't solve anything. I think it'll cause additional problems. Thank you.
Meaty?
I'd be really interested to see what our administration comes back to us as what affordable housing is and how much the development charges waiving them is costing us right now. I'd really like to see those numbers. And if we can get rid of our waiving the development charges, I would like to. And if that means that we just have to give just for affordable housing and have a very good definition of what affordable housing is and how we're going to go with that, then I would much rather just give them a little bit of a break on development charges than a blanket one that we have been given.
Thank you. Excuse me, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Just to clarify for administration, excuse me, for council, we currently do have an exemption for affordable housing in our current DC bylaw, and that exemption is for the municipal-wide charges. The definition of affordable housing, however, is quite flexible in that it's determined through a program as administered through either the federal government, provincial government, or even county or municipal level. And so it's quite flexible in that regard. It has to be a nonprofit, and that gives it some, margin of clarification in that it's a nonprofit type of program, and essentially to spur the development of affordable housing. We do have that exemption. Just for clarification, we can certainly throw this into the report, which we'd be happy to. There is a legislative exemption if we did not have an exemption in the bylaw for-profit multi-residential. The exemption is legislated that for-profit developments for multi-residential in nature, if they choose, that developer could have the option of paying those DCs in installments, up to 21 installments, plus I believe it's called interest rate that we determine. But a nonprofit multi-residential or affordable housing project legislatively also has the option, or could it be the other way around? Actually, I think Kate, yeah, she's nodding. It's the other way around. 6 installments for-profit, 21 installments for nonprofit. Again, we'll lay this out in a report to council, but just wanted to clarify that we currently do have an exemption for affordable housing in our DC bylaw.
Kristovich, did you have something to add?
Just maybe for council's consideration, there are multiple exemptions within the current DC bylaw, not just for multi-residential. So if it's council's appetite to be directing administration for a report, I think maybe you consider a friendly amendment that we look at the various types of waivers so that council has a clear picture of the full amount of waivers, not just for that specific exemption.
Would you accept that? Who was my seconder? You accept that as well? Comments? Councillor Bondi?
Thank you, Mayor Bjorkman. I think that this would be helpful information for future conversations to have, and the new council might use it, hit the ground running and look at what is actually waived and what it costs the taxpayers to continue to waive multi-residential, and what is our impact going into the budget reset cycle, going into the next council's long-term planning. I think this is really healthy and helpful information. So I'm hoping that council does approve the motion to get a report on what our administration has suggested. Wrap it all up in a little package for us.
Garen.
I'm in favor of a report, but let's talk about the development fees and why we have them. It wasn't that many years ago. We put them in place for a reason. We wanted growth. We wanted our town to grow. We're lagging. We were behind. Countywide, we were at the bottom. And I think it serves a purpose. So I guess what we have to do, I like the idea of one-offs, deciding on one-off projects. Where does it make sense? Where does it not make sense? As opposed to this ward should have it, this ward should have it. I'm all in favor of the report, but we have to remember why that development fee waive was put in there and when it was put in and why we did it. And I think it served a purpose. And maybe today, we're sitting there going, hey, we're doing really good. We don't need them anymore. But I mean, maybe a report from administration will clarify that.
Thank you, Counselor. And I would like to say, I agree with that. We are where we are today right now with development because of what we put in place 6 years ago. And it was getting that, standing out in the field at Delabana's groundbreaking just this past weekend was exciting. To look at roads going in all directions and houses going in and the growth that's happening, Noah Homes, and we've got a lot happening at both ends, well, all ends of our community right now. So that happened because we decided to put incentives in, and the incentives got people to build and to build multi-residentials. And we've had this conversation many times. I still believe building more gets us affordable housing. Having more places, getting people out and able to purchase what they want allows infill to places that are less expensive. To find the right word there. But it's just important that we continue to move that, because that's how we're going to get affordable housing, is to have enough housing. Right now we don't, and we need to find a way to keep building. So, but I am in favor of seeing a report, and I really like what Director Versovich said about taking everything that we have right now. Let's put it all out. Let's put it on a graph that we can look at it and understand it, have a clear picture of what's already here, and then what do we want to do moving forward. So anyways, with the amended motion, any other discussion? Councillor Guerin?
Just administration, is there any projects we got in the hopper right now that would be affected with development fees or this decision right now? Is there anything, could you speak to that?
Director Chadwick?
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor, just a clarification, if I could, to Councillor Guerin. Are you referring to projects that are multi-residential in nature, or any waiver?
Both, any waivers?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, absolutely. There are several in the queue. Not only residential development from a single family or semi-detached perspective, but also commercial projects in nature. We have to name a few, Home Hardware in Ward 1. We have Sturgeon Woods RV storage facility as well. That's commercial as well. Multi-residential, however, we don't have any in the queue that are moving as quickly as Parnell Street did. Thank you.
I guess the question we ask ourselves is, in the case of the Home Hardware Building Center, would they make that move without any incentives? Or would they not put a shovel in the ground? So that's the question we're always going to be asking ourselves. And I'm sure administration is getting that. And I'm sure builders are saying they're getting some of those fees waived in other communities as well, in other municipalities. So we're in competition too with other municipalities of where people want to put their development. So we always got to keep that in mind as well. And the taxpayer, of course.
Thank you. Mayor Malash.
Sorry, I forgot to turn my mic back on, but so before we move on this, I just want to be reread, because the motion I'm looking at says to cease multi-residential waiving of development fees unless the new proposal is deemed to be affordable housing. So I think we've strayed far, far away from this. I think, I'm not sure, but I need to hear the motion of what we're talking about now.
For you, Deputy Mayor, what I have as the motion, as amended through discussion anyways, that Council of the Town of Essex direct administration to review and prepare a report in relation to ceasing the multi-residential waiving of development fees unless the new development proposal is deemed to qualify for affordable housing, and that the report also include a review of all current DC exemptions or waivers.
Amendment, if
Yeah.
I may, that we slash the unless the new proposal is deemed to be affordable housing, because that will come back in the report. Yeah, we don't have to, that's already in the DC report. Okay.
So I'm going to need some clarification. Did we leave in direct administration to cease the multi-residential waiving? That's gone. All of that's gone. Okay, just a report. Can you get that worked out there, Mr. Clerk? If you could read that back to us, just so we're very clear on what we're voting on.
The Deputy Mayor, the Council of the Town of Essex direct administration to review and repair a report. I still had in relation to ceasing the multi-residential waiving of development fees, and that the report also include a review of all current DC exemptions waivers.
It doesn't necessarily have to say cease, but just the cost of what waiving multi-residential development fees costs us.
More time.
The Council of the Town of Essex direct administration to review and prepare a report in relation to reviewing the cost in relation to waiving multi-residential development fees, and that the report also include a review of all current DC exemptions or waivers.
Okay, ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Under 17.2.1 is a notice of motion that is being presented only this evening and will be brought forward for council's consideration at the August 22nd regular council meeting. As moved by Councillor Bondi, that Essex Council create a policy that amends the practice of verbal request and that stipulates that when town staff serve notices of infractions to residents, the notice must be in writing, referencing the policy violation, bylaw infraction, or other issue that town employees request resident cooperation on. As well, Mr. Deputy Mayor, 3 notices of motion were added as part of adoption of the published agenda this evening. They're respectively 17.1.2, point 3, and point 4. And again, all of these are for presentment only this evening, and these notices of motion would come back for council's consideration at the August 2nd meeting. The first notice of motion from Mayor Meloche. Whereas farm accidents can occur in the most remote locations, making it difficult for first responders to easily locate the situation, and whereas EMS recognizes there to be a flaw in the system, as not all rural property entrances have signage, and whereas in the event of an emergency, no one should have to wait helplessly for first responders to find them, and whereas time is everything, and a civic address at the entrance to a vacant farm field could make all the difference. And whereas the town of Essex is considered to be one of the most rural of Essex County's municipalities, therefore, that Essex Council requests administration to prepare a report on Farm 911, the Emily project, as to how the town of Essex can roll out this program for rural residents of the town who wish to have their properties assigned and address signed in order for timely responses in emergency situations. To be included in this report are the potential costs of the program, as well as where the funding could possibly be sourced. The second notice of motion for presentment only coming back for consideration August 2nd, as 17.1.3 on the agenda, is a notice of motion from Councillor Bondi that council send a letter to Valenti Corporation requesting that a retaining wall be installed behind the homes on Morris in the Townsview subdivision by November 30th of 2022. And finally, as added to this evening's agenda, 17.1.4 is a notice of motion coming back August 2nd from Mayor Meloche that Essex Council and administration request the County of Essex perform a review of the intersection at County Road 12 and County Road 15 in the hopes of providing better safety controls, at minimum enlargement of stop signs on County Road 15 with perhaps better lighting. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Clerk, that moves us into reports and announcements from council members. So I will start to my left and Mr. Guerin.
Chair. So the Fun Fest, by all measures, was a huge success. Our committee is, I mean, all the stars aligned. We had beautiful weather. We had a lot of people come out and partake. And, you know, I have to thank town, the staff, all of our volunteers, our committee, you know, all the people that showed up, our sponsors, our partners. I mean, it was just one of those years where it just seemed everything just fell into place. And, you know, we haven't had one since 2019. And I feel that the ones we had prior to this year were also good, but this was just kind of off the chart. I mean, we had people coming from well outside of our area. They were just tourism in our area and spending some time in, whether it was Windsor, whatever. We had people from Ohio, Woodbridge, Alberta that came up to me and said, you know, that they loved our festival, loved our layout, loved everything about it. So I had nothing but great things to say about it. And I understand it was busy uptown as well. So just a great event for the town, and hopefully we can grow from here. And thanks again, everyone who helped out.
Councilor Guerin, for all your effort and your team was tremendous. And Councilor Verbeek's not here tonight, or we'd be giving her some of those too. So thank you. Councilor Vanderdolen.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Yes, I agree. It was my first Fun Fest. I'd never been, and I really enjoyed it. It was terrific. I just wanted to talk about the groundbreaking most of us attended Friday in Herald for the Delabana project. It's a really big deal, and I think the public, we need to point out to the public major accomplishment of this council and this administration over the past 4 years, and that is that we have restarted in a significant way. We've restarted residential construction throughout the town of Essex. You know, we've got, I think it's about 160 homes already sold behind the Canadian Tire, on its way to 550 that will eventually be built, townhomes. And with the Delabana, that's over 300 new homes that will be single family duplexes and townhouses. And that's added to the 77 already under construction. I think 10 basements poured. Earlier this evening, we passed without comment the building department's report on what we've done. You know, at this time last year, we had building permits of $37 million issued. And so far this year, we've got 128 million, 38 to 128, you know, 350% increase. It's going to be a terrific year, and I'm hoping for new housing and for new starts. I'm hoping that next year is just as good and the years following. So I just think it's great news. We have to share it. Thanks.
Chair Deputy Mayor Bjorkman, that's a hard act to follow. So I just want to make sure that everybody watching, council, candidates, they're all welcome to 30 Laird Street this Saturday from 10 until 3. We're doing the third kids clothing swap. There's lots of stuff. Thank you for the town of Essex for helping us with storage. WeCap, the Windsor Essex Community Arts Project, is doing a charity barbecue. So if you want to come by and grab a hot dog or a hamburger and support them, that would be great. Andrew Bottoms in Essex Center here has fixed about 20 bikes that got donated to the swap. So big thank you to AB Bike Shop. What an amazing corporate citizen. And thanks also to the Masonic Lodge and everyone there that is helping us. So still time to donate to the swap. We're going to be there Thursday from 6 to 8, collecting donations and sorting. And I hope to see as many of you as possible on Saturday. It's going to be great. Times are tough, so share the word, because clothing our children should not be. And there's something for everybody. I even have board games. So, and I know Mr. Raymond Reno, who's in the audience, wants to challenge all of council next year at NASCAR Bob's. So I will take you up on that challenge at the Fun Fest. As long as he comes back, Councillor Guerin, NASCAR Bob, big hit.
I'd like to just put a plug in for the ACT committee. The Tune Up the Parks is back and in full swing. And actually tonight, we all missed it because we were here. But every Monday night at Herald Gardens, and I'm sorry, we missed Colchester. I hosted the last one. Every Monday night in Colchester at 7 o'clock, and then every Wednesday night in Heritage Gardens Park at 7 o'clock. It's tremendous. We've just gotten great attendance. People want to be out. People are looking to go. Councillor Guerin, you know, just from the Fun Fest and other festivals that are happening. They're so happy to be back out, and it's great to see everybody and spend some time. So come on out and support our local artists. That'd be great. Councillor Bowman.
these accolades of things that have been going on in our community, it's a great time to be living in Essex. My hat's off to Joe and his crew for a fantastic weekend. Again, I know what it takes to put it on, and you've taken it to another level. Thanks.
Matey?
Say thanks to the Fun Fest was an excellent time. And the Sip and Shop for its inaugural event, I think that turned out perfect. I can't think of one bad thing to say about that. That was awesome.
Mayor Malash?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I just have to throw the accolades out. The Fun Fest was fantastic. I was there doing something all 4 days, volunteering or enjoying some parts of the event. And I just want to say to Councillor Guerin and Councillor Verbeek, well done. And all the volunteers. Councillor Bowman, I know you were very involved as well. Thank you to all of the volunteers. It was obviously a huge success, as you can tell from everybody speaking about it. And let's hope that we can continue on after COVID being done now, hopefully on a continuous basis, that we can do this again next year. And I think it'll even be bigger and better next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll go on to bylaws that require a third and final reading. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Bylaw 2176, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings from the July 4th regular council meeting for third reading this evening.
Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Bondi. All in favor? Carried.
Bylaw 2154, being a bylaw to provide for the Long Marsh Drain replacement and future bridge, also for third reading this evening.
Councillor Vanderdolen, seconded by Councillor Guerin. Any questions? All in favor? Carried.
And bylaw 2182 for two readings this evening, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this July 18th regular meeting of council.
Over. Mayor Malash. You almost got Councillor Malash. Mayor Malash and Councillor Guerin. All in favor? That's carried.
I think your mic might be off, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before we adjourn, our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022 from 6 till 9. And then on Monday, August 22nd at 5 o'clock, we have a special meeting to discuss with Hydro One representatives. So thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for our audience for staying for the whole show. And thanks for putting up with me. And I have a movement to adjourn. I'll move. Seconded by Councillor Bowman. All in favor? Good night.